Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and begin. This is called to order a special city council meeting for one purpose and one purpose only, and it's a discussion of proposed amendments to the ordinances pertaining to the city attorney for the city of Belleville. One of the reasons we had to do it this way is until tonight's meeting, we have not had the opportunity yet to vote the council committees in place. We would have held a special meeting probably late last week or something for this purpose with the ordinance committee, but they weren't approved. So that's why we're having a brief meeting here beforehand to explain, let the interim city attorney kind of explain some of his concerns, and that we can have some discussion on that, and hopefully take action tonight so that we can move quicker on appointing a city attorney and not drag this out. So at this time, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's no public hearing for this particular special meeting. There's no presentations, recognitions, or appointments on this special meeting. Public participation, until we have some discussion and you hear everything, I don't know, does anybody have anything specific right now for this? The next meeting will be public participation for the general council meeting. Is anybody wishing right now, having a comment on this topic at hand? Yes, sir.
Rick Brown, 618 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Belleville. And I guess this has to do with on the city appointing a new city attorney. And I understand some of the changes that are being asked for is that the city attorney not live in the city of Belleville, but live within 5 miles of the city of Belleville, I believe. Why, when the city of Belleville negotiates its contract with the other employees of the city of Belleville, they're required to live in the city limits of Belleville in order to be a fireman or policeman or so for so many years until I believe it's 12 years now, then they can move out of the city.
It's changing all the time.
It's changing, but I'll tell you what, this is a slap in the face to the union people that work for this city that have to follow one set of rules, and then there's another set of rules for somebody like the city attorney. And I think you all ought to consider that before you go along with it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, I will close public participation, and we will move into the discussion. Okay, we have been real.
Since this is not a full city council meeting, and as you know, I guess it is a full city council meeting, but it's a special meeting, and quite frankly, it's taking the place of an ordinance meeting. As you know, under a city council meeting, there are rules in place that prevent a whole lot of interaction. People are only allowed to speak once on a topic, et cetera, et cetera. It seems to me to be more productive, since you haven't had an ordinance meeting, for someone to motion to suspend under 206cc the ordinary rules of a meeting, of a full meeting, so we can have a discussion and people can be heard more than once on what the issues they may have.
We've always been pretty liberal on that, and we've been looking at the...
It has to be a 2/3 vote. If someone would make that motion and we could get 11 votes. Or
we have a motion for Alderman Axel, a second for Alderman Heisler, to suspend the normal rules that are in our ordinance book. And I will admit, I have not forced the following of those rules, but they're in the ordinance book. pertaining to the meeting structure. So to do that right now, for suspending for tonight's purpose of allowing as much discussion as possible, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we're ready for some discussion. Please note that Mr. Hayden is here. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Peters what happened. Let me just give you a quick sentence or two. When we approved Mr. Peters as the interim city attorney, a couple days later, when he and I started talking about, I was talking to him about the requirements, and had a couple contacts, a couple of people called me, etc. He immediately went to the ordinance book, and I'll be honest with you. We've had Mr. Sprague and Mr. Flynn for so many years. They both had their firms in the city, and both lived in the city, and I never really ever went back. But as Tom came to me, the ordinance is very vague, to say the least. So, Mr. Peters, I want him to explain a little bit what he discovered and how it reads right now.
Well, actually, I felt, or at least I thought the ordinance read the same way Mr. Brown indicated that the ordinance read to the city attorney. In fact, it does not. If you look at 3.295, where it talks about employment of employees, if you're seeking employment or you're seeking employment on a full-time basis, which are A and C under the rules, you are required to seek residence in the city of Belleville within 15 months. Under D, it talks about department heads, but as you know, all the other department heads have another section of the code where their department is set up. The city attorney does not have a department in the code. And so, in all likelihood, D doesn't apply to the city attorney. If D did apply, the city attorney would have 15 months to move into the city, which means during his year of appointment, he'd never have to move in and never have to live within 5 months. He could live in Tulsa. That being said, what we've done here, at least what I propose, is we're talking to the mayor and other people who are, what's the best way to say it, knowledgeable concerning what we're looking for as a city attorney. The belief was what we're looking for is somebody who's invested in the city, somebody who's concerned about the city, and somebody who is well known at the courthouse. The thought was if it was limited simply to the city of Belleville, you would have too small a pool of candidates. If you want somebody who's well known at the courthouse, I mean, as Mr. Galetti's probably most familiar with the way things happen in St. Clair, you're probably talking about 100 to 150 people total who are well known at the courthouse. And then when you put the restriction of the city of Belleville, and that pool gets much, much smaller, maybe not even double figures. When you consider how many people actually want to do the job, it gets smaller than that. And so they're up to debate, they're whatever you want them to be in the end. But these are the requirements that I thought would ensure somebody who's invested in the city, who shops in the city, who cares about the city, and who is confident and experienced and qualified.
I think that was one of the things we heard, even a few of you mentioned right off the bat. We are certainly looking for somebody, and not everybody practices municipal law every day, but with the challenges facing cities today and the size of the city we have, I do feel very strong that we need somebody that has a strong municipal law background. I think that's a must. I have looked at a few candidates. A couple of people have talked to me already, came forward. They didn't, the ones initially so far have not had the strong background in municipal law that I've settled on. So when Tom talked about having them make sure, nothing's in here right now that says they have to have a law office in Belleville. So I could find somebody who lives in Belleville but practices in St. Louis. And I think that's awkward too. I think we need somebody who's vested in this city, who has a commitment to Belleville, and who's going to be readily available. We've always been kind of spoiled because the city attorneys we've had in the past, almost all of them have lived really pretty, lived and worked real close, and it's made a difference. So we'll open it up for discussion, but we think we need to get this spelled out. One of the people right off the bat who talked to me said, I'm a little bit, one of the attorneys said, I'm a little bit, I went to the ordinance book, and I was a little bit surprised to find how vague the ordinance defining the city attorney's some criteria, how vague it was. And I said, well, it's funny you should say that. We just kind of had that same conversation. So, Mr. Hayden, I'll let you respond first.
Thank you, Your Honor. Looking at section 303B1, section 2, we start talking about qualifications of the city attorney. And
That's 314 out.
yeah, oh yeah, 314 out. Yeah. I think you both have stated we're going to have to come to a conclusion here. Which is more important? And I certainly recognize those that would want to see a city attorney's office here in the city of Belleville. Certainly, I understand the vested interest, but if we do this, we're drastically, in my mind, limiting the people that are qualified to do this job. And in my considered opinion, I think, Your Honor, that's more important at this juncture, especially when we're starting with somebody fresh out of the box, per se. And I don't know. I wanted to ask Mr. Peters, the 5 miles on the second page of item 3, to reside within the city of Belleville for 5 miles. Where did that section come?
That actually came from the thought that actually, like, as lawyers become successful, they tend to live in different neighborhoods. So you have them in places like the Orchards.
Which is in the city, but there's the country club, a lot of the candidates,
Right.
people, Powder Mill,
Powder Mill, Oak Hill, in fact.
Chanel Place.
I think if you count the lawyers, it's probably 3 to 1 in those suburbs as opposed to the ones inside the city.
Some could argue 10 miles might even be better.
Well, I mean, you're right about one thing. Right now, there's not even a requirement that the city attorney has an income process.
Correct.
There's no restrictions whatsoever.
Certainly that needs to be fixed. But why shall not reside in a different municipality?
The concern there was whether somebody thought that you had somebody actually living in the city of Swansea or in the city of Fairview Heights or in the city of Shiloh who would actually have a situation with a conflict. If you
And
live,
yet, both of our past attorneys represented other cities simultaneously representing Belleville.
They didn't represent abutting cities.
but wait, representation is completely different. I mean, a lawyer can represent conflicting views.
They were city attorneys for other
And what I'm
municipalities.
saying, a lawyer can represent more than one
Exactly,
competing
but
view
you're
in a
sitting
different
here
place.
trying to tell us that their loyalty depends on where they live. And I'm making the point that is not true, that you're basically saying the work they did for Cahokia was not as good as the work they did for Belleville because they lived in Belleville.
The issue wasn't loyalty, and I guess I'm choosing my words too precisely. The word I said was conflict. A conflict of interest is, in other words, if I was the city of Belleville and I made a motion on a sewer contract that affected my property in Shiloh, I have an actual conflict. That's the reason.
I understand that.
I would think that
Well, yeah, you don't want to refer me, you need not have.
But we need to keep in mind that in my recollection, the last real conflict that we've had that I'm aware of with any other governing jurisdiction that abuts the city of Belleville was actually Stuckey Township over the sewer issue. So you could argue the same.
That's true.
You could argue the same thing that somebody living in Stuckey outside the city of Belleville within 5 miles living in Stuckey Township could have, the same potential conflict. I think we can never draw an ordinance that's going to, as you probably very well know, Mr. Peters, you can never draw an ordinance that's gonna elapse all the conflicts. The object is, you know, we got a good attorney and good assistant attorney. The attorney knows when they have a conflict and need to recuse themselves, and that's the appropriate and proper thing to do in that respect. Item 5, each of the subsections 1 to 4 must be satisfied during the city attorney's entire appointment for 1 year prior to the attorney's initial appointment of office unless excused pursuant 303B1. So now, not only are we requiring them to live in the city of Belleville, but we're within that 5-mile radius. We're requiring them to be here a year in advance. That's going to limit our pool even further.
It could, probably not significantly. The reason why that provision is that's the same provision for the other officers in the city. It's the same requirements for everybody else.
Elected officials, for example, we have to live in the city a year before you can even run.
Correct.
So when we're saying,
Sure, that's true. Elected at this point are different.
but it doesn't stop you from, you know, like Tom said, the law. Okay, if the law is, if we don't have this requirement, then we have to follow the federal 15 months. If they have 15 months to move in, and it's only a 1 year at a time appointment, they would never have to move into the city.
And so I'm asking you, is it better to have the best municipal attorney within the greater St. Louis area, whether you live in Belleville or not? Or is it better to go with the best of a much, much smaller pool? Do you want the best, or do you want somebody who lives in the...
We felt that we were still keeping responsible and closeness to the city, but by expanding out to 5 miles, that we were opening up our radius. 5 miles takes you out and does include those subdivisions and those suburbs of Belleville where we know a lot of our attorneys who work in Belleville do live.
Okay, I was really concerned by your calling a requirement to be well-known at the courthouse.
I think a requirement, but I figured that's what you want.
I want somebody who is well qualified in their field, whether they know anybody in that building or not.
You know what the job of the city attorney is? They have to represent the city in litigation. Under the venue statute, you know where that litigation is centered? Up at that courthouse. If you bring somebody down to Chicago, you're going to lose.
But under your rules, we can't hire anybody from overflow.
First of all, in my rules, you can change, anyone can change whatever they
So
want.
why are we concerned about where they live, rather than are they licensed to practice law in Illinois?
Because the point is to try to get somebody with the best interest in Belleville, so who cares about the city? And those are usually people who live close to it, not people who live in Carlinville or...
Their kids go to school, they go to church, they do their shopping. We want people, I think, that have a vested interest. And I really do feel we have a lot of lawyers' offices in Belleville. And we have a lot of qualified people.
Is there a list that abides by these qualifications?
Is there a list?
Is there a list that would, and according to the, number 3, what's the one about this business? F2, about the attorney holding title or a lease. Does our current assistant city attorney meet that qualification?
We didn't get an assistant city because we felt assistant city attorney is a younger person who's getting started, and they're probably not going to be a partner in a law firm yet, etc.
I feel like you're talking out of both sides of your
No,
mouth.
I think it's very...
Providing this to someone specific
No.
rather than looking for the best qualification.
We are. I am looking for the best person, but I think
I'm
what...
going to do some other research, and I was told this residency thing has fallen out of favor, that it is archaic and it is not a modern thing that is used. The building ownership lease rule is appalling, and there are more reasons against them than for them. We're either looking for the best, or we're looking for someone that can control.
Ken? I'm sorry, Alderman Randall.
Go on, no, go on.
Should be next.
I know we're spending quite a bit of time here talking about residence requirements, but I want to get back to the point that Mr. Hayes made, and I think it really has to do with what standards or qualifications exist to demonstrate competency, experience, and qualifications for the position itself. So I don't think that there is anything, in our discussion that said we've got anything like that within the code, that there's nothing on the job description. So what would the measurements actually look like? What would they be?
I don't know that it would be.
I think it's hard. They don't rate, when you do judges, attorneys vote. And you have a vote, you have a rating on attorney's performance as they become a candidate for judgeship. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
They don't do this, we can't necessarily pull that off. That would be a rating that we could look at if we could say, rate attorneys that you think would be the best in municipal law to govern a city of approximately 50,000. There's no such mechanism. But we do know that,
We would look at a resume that said
well, I'm
10
looking
years experience.
Oh, I can tell you right now, Alderman Randall, in my opinion, and this is the mayor's appointment to bring back to you for your ratification, I'm looking at a minimum of 10 years experience. I think that's the minimum threshold, in my opinion, that I'm looking at.
But to clarify, do you mean in general law or in municipal law?
I think it has to be both. I think you're going to have people that are out there who do municipal law and who do other practices, which also benefit us. If you have people who practice law in a variety of ways, when it comes to the city dealing with workman's comp and dealing with all the other things that you have to be knowledgeable of, even if an insurance carrier has a lawyer. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of different things dealing with the world we live in today. I think we want a minimum of somebody who has, 10 years experience, especially being the city attorney. I think the assistant city attorney has proven over the years, many of them started at younger ages and have grown into these positions with experience. And that's why we felt there was a little bit difference. And there was no standards in that job description either.
But our assistant city attorney, other than from 93 to 97, has been the same as the city attorney, and both of them were established, seasoned attorneys. So,
Absolutely.
I mean,
And they're two of the last ones that have had, I'm not saying the last, but they're two of kind of a group that you don't have to pick out there with that type of longevity of city municipal law like you did with Mr. Sprague and Mr. Flynn. They had an extensive background in municipal law for many, 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 many years. So that was unique. So, folks, we're trying to tighten this up. There's different points here. I've been critiqued again the other day that I'm not going to move fast enough and drag my feet. Well, believe me, Mr. Peters would like to do this as quick as possible. And all we're saying is, before we move forward and before I can really interview people, I have to be able to show them what, if any, criteria we have.
can we also discuss another issue that I think is pertinent, Your Honor? If we're going to discuss the city attorney position, then I think that this is the time, as we're bringing in somebody new, that the city attorney is a professional contract employee, in my mind. It's no different than a professional engineer if we were contracting outside, or an architect. They're a professional employee. This would be the time to eliminate providing, health insurance, pensions, and other benefits that go to the city attorney position as it is now.
You could consider that, Mr. Hague, but I guarantee you that we're going to have to look at much greater fees. If you read the newspaper article just a couple weeks, the city of Belleville pays a lot less for attorneys than neighboring cities the size of Fairview Heights, Collinsville is one of them, a number of them.
So are you factoring in the cost of health insurance?
Yes, we're factoring in health insurance. Health insurance and pension is nothing compared to what these other neighboring communities are paying for attorney's fees. They're paying hundreds of thousands. What was the report? Some were 300,000, 400,000, and we, yeah.
About 3 or 4 years ago.
And well, they're up this year again. It's up dramatically. So I mean, we pay, the city attorney gets $109,000, is it, Jamie, for the salary? The assistant city attorney gets half, correct? And they each are offered, whether or not they take it or not, health insurance and IMRF. So that is a far cry less than what you're paying for some of these things. Some of these people are billing hourly. And the last thing we want to do is for as much as we pester those people, is have them bill us hourly. That would be unsurmountable, the amount of cost we would spend on legal fees.
We got rid of that in '93.
And like I said, right now, I don't think we billed hourly. I don't think Mr. Sprague ever was hourly when he was hired in '73.
Yeah, no, in '93, when the contract came up, at the Finance Committee, the portion to bill hourly for litigation was eliminated from those contracts.
Like I said, we pay, we're one of the most reasonable. And I don't plan on, like I said, it's a new era, but I plan on whoever I talk to, making sure that they understand this is what the budget approved this year, and this is what we have to pay. So I don't plan on opening Pandora's box to 3 times the amount of money for attorneys. We can't do that. I mean, unless there's something unusual happens. Yes, ma'am.
If we pass this as it's written so that you can get on with interviewing someone and something came up that didn't seem workable, can we not amend this at a later time?
Certainly, and I think you all know already, as we've stated several times, and whether it be immediately or months down the road, we have to go through our ordinance book. Whether we hire a firm or how we take this on, we're going to have to tackle this. And it's when we do that we might modify a lot of the ordinances and bring them more up to date. This here today, this proposal, we're not saying that it's the end of all. We're saying it's better than what we have, because right now we have virtually very little teeth in anything to sit down with somebody and try to talk to them. And so we believe this is an improvement. It also does, without giving up our feelings of residency that have been existing in the city for a long time, it does stretch the boundaries to the perimeters of the greater Belleville area, where these people still go to our churches, kids go to our schools, they still shop in our stores, they're still a part of the Belleville community within that 5-mile radius. And that's why we came up with this. Trying to increase the field. Mr. Gleddy?
Isn't the nature of what you're actually looking for make the pool of qualified attorneys very small as it is? I mean, you're looking for a guy with 10 years of municipal experience. And I can't imagine there's but a handful of guys that would meet that requirement as well as the requirements in the proposed ordinance. So my thought is that, I mean, it would be nice to find a guy like that, but I don't think you're gonna.
Well, and like I said, I've had a few talk to me, I have not made any indication to anyone, because first of all, I think we've got to make some clarifications, about the ordinance, etc. But I feel like until we kind of give some direction with this, it's hard for me to entertain really any, because what past practice has been, they've had to have their business and their residency in the city limit of Belleville. And with that, I think it really shrinks the pool. And it's hard for me to say that, because I've always been real staunch about that. But I think
municipal work, I mean.
Well, I'm not saying, I said they don't have to be full-time, I don't think they have to be full-time, but I think they have to prove some experience in municipal work.
Right.
And that's what I would say.
But I think when the mayor talked about municipal work, he's also talking about governmental work.
Well, yeah, okay,
So it's
kind of,
I mean, you'd like to get as much as you can, but like you said, if you actually wanted somebody with 10 years of municipal work, you'd have to take somebody who's already doing it.
right, yeah, exactly. So that's a good clarification there. Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you about what you're going to tell these potential people as you interview them as far as meeting attendance. It has been a bone of contention that the attorney does not attend ordinance and legal committee, but every other department head is required to attend meetings for their departments, things that apply to them. We could be talking about a man who has done zero work for the city of Belleville that day, and yet you're saying there's no need for them to show up that evening.
I think I will answer you the way I've answered you before, Alderman Holt. And it's certainly a new time, and I don't have a problem asking the attorneys for one of them to try to be present in ordinance and legal review. But I've always told you, and I think, we have said, if there's a need, if we requested it, one of the two attorneys in the past would go.
But we've told you specifically.
No, you have told me. No one else has told me. You have told me. Okay? So,
Okay, the carnival thing went on for months and months and months and months and months, because we can't make a decision without an attorney there to advise us.
well, that's been quite a while ago now. I don't remember. I can't sit here and argue, just debate, all the terms. I will promise you again, we will, if we have any substantive changes in ordinances, I will ask one of the attorneys to be present to ordinance committee. That's as good as it gets. And I think I put Mr. Gleddy on the ordinance committee too, who is an attorney.
But not working in that capacity.
But not working in that capacity, but certainly has some knowledge to certainly shed some light. Mr. Hayden?
For the record, I have also stated my concerns and wishes, Your Honor, that the city attorney be at the ordinance and legal review. I don't know, we're at 7 o'clock, we got a meeting. Is it your goal to pass this ordinance tonight?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, here's the thing, Alderman Hayden. I got people in the newspaper as well saying, we should have put a time limit on exactly how soon we're going to hire somebody. I think until we get this established, it's impossible to sit down with somebody because they're going to say, well, what are my requirements?
I understand that, Your
So
Honor.
I think if we pass
But
this...
we're giving this city council with multiple new members 30 minutes of a time limit. I'm not going to be dictated by what the B&D wants us to
Alderman
do.
Hayden, I am not dictating.
No,
Here's what I'm
I
proposing.
said we should not be dictated by what the B&D wants.
Well, I understand that. I'm just saying, Alderman Holt was on me about not letting us go too long and making it quick.
What we need is kind of a consensus of where you want to go,
I'd like
so
to
we
go
can
to
get
ordinance
this.
and legal committee to be discussed.
Then I'm gonna have to be here in June, and I don't want to. I would rather be home.
And you want to give 30 days right away. You said that.
Then put a time limit. You said it'd be available till.
Then you should have never accepted the interim.
Okay, I'm just telling you.
You should never accepted interim.
Okay.
I can't support this as it is because if that's your goal tonight, and we do need to fix my name on the A and A, but if your goal tonight is to pass this as it is, I can't support it because I think we're drastically limiting the people that we would be able to hire as a qualified.
So you want to expand on, I tell you what we're going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to adjourn this special meeting. We're going to begin the regular meeting. And when we get to this topic on the agenda, we'll open the discussion back where we are. And let's continue it for a little bit. I have no timeline. I have no place to be tonight. And let's take it a little farther and see if we can come to any closer agreement on what we might think is important. If that doesn't work, then we can certainly send it back to a committee and we can go from there. But like I said, we felt that something tightening it up was better than what we had in there because it was very unclear. It was totally unclear. So, with that said, I'm going to propose to close this special meeting for this discussion we've had, and we're going to start the regular meeting here in just a moment. Okay? Is there anyone else out there want to come in? Okay. Going to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Heisman. Here. Kinsella. Here. Holt. Here. Schmidt. Here. Ridgewoods. Here. Randall. Here. Anthony. Here. Sillsby. Here. Aiden. Here. Seibert. Here. White. Here. Galletti. Here. Musgrove. Here. Orlett. Here. Schneider.
Here.
Roll call department heads.
Police Chief Bill Clay. Here. Fire Chief Scott Langston.
Please excuse Tom Morris here in his presence.
City Attorney Tom Peters. Here. Ken Vaughn. Here. Royce Carlisle. Here. Jamie Mather.
Here.
Tim Gregowitz. Here. Jim Schneider. Here. Leander Spearman. Here. Emily Foltz.
Here.
Chuck Schaefer. Here. Bob Sable. Here.
All present. This time, ladies and gentlemen, would you stand and join me in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, I officially want to open a public hearing that's scheduled for this evening as advertised. And the notice to the public stated the following. There will be a public hearing regarding a sanitary sewer easement vacation for the property located at 1021 West E Street on Monday, May 6, 2013 at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers of the Belleville City Hall located at 101 South Illinois Street. So at this time, St. Paul's Home, is the engineer here? Okay. You want to come forward and just give a real brief description of what you're all doing and what you're asking of us, because staff agrees it's a reasonable, necessary request.
Certainly. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Mike Vorwerk. I'm with Civil Engineering Design Consultants here this evening on behalf of St. Paul's Home for the Aged. As he mentioned, we are requesting the vacation of the last 40 feet of a sanitary sewer easement, an existing sanitary sewer easement. The reason for the request is with the building addition, the new building will be over the existing sanitary sewer. The rest of the sanitary sewer will remain in place as it travels to the north, but for purposes of the new building, we need to vacate 40 feet of the existing easement.
St. Paul's Home is doing their due diligence and making progress in building a new nursing home facility, and then the existing buildings of the nursing home will be torn down. And I think this project is up to about 30 million. Is that about right, Emily, what we were told? So it's about a $31 million project, and we're very happy to see them here keep that project involved. Is there any questions from the City Council about this vacation of this easement, sewer sanitary easement? Was there any questions from the public? Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering, who's going to foot the bill, the taxpayers or the St. Paul's Home?
It's St. Paul's Home, this is their project. It's nothing to do with the taxpayers, Stuart.
Sure.
Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Did I see you're hoping to have groundbreaking about the 1st of June, is that correct?
I'm not sure, that's probably more an architect or owner call.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, any other questions for the engineer firm that's here this evening? Hearing none, I will close public participation on this vacation of this sewer easement. Okay, we're now back in regular session. At this time, we'll open public participation. I ask you to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes, approach the microphone, give your name and address, and let's make sure that also that we certainly do it in good character. Anybody this evening like to speak? Yes, sir.
Rick Brown, 618 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Belleville. Regarding what was talked about at the last meeting a few minutes ago, I think it's imperative that we get the best city attorney that we can possibly get for the city of Belleville, because I think we're going to need it. And going out beyond the city boundaries is I think, absolutely essential for this. However, I think that the same courtesy should be extended to the city employees that right now have to live within the city limits. A lot of these rules are from years ago, and it's just kept going here in Belleville, and I think maybe they should consider, you guys should consider allowing some of the city employees, so we can get the best of the brightest, to come in from 5-10 miles within the city, near to the city, to be able to work here. Okay, that being said, as far as qualifications for the city attorney, the foremost qualification is that he honors the Constitution of the United States. That is number one. Not that he, represents Belleville. He has to honor the Constitution, because I think that we've been lacking in that in the last 20 or 30 years because of some of the ordinances that have been passed regarding occupancy and retroactive zoning that took people's property rights away. That should be absolutely imperative. He has to honor the Constitution. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Seeing none? Yes, sir? Go ahead.
Starting at 318 South 29th Street, Belleville. The Scott Flood, this is not pertaining to, this is a little off topic right here, but Scott Flood was Scott Flood was a slap in the face of the citizens, taxpayers of Belleville.
Stuart, okay, but, I'm sorry, but I would recommend that you take that to a county board meeting.
Oh, they don't let you get up and say nothing. That's all, their meetings are over 5 minutes. Maybe the board could get back to Mark Bird, that I think he pulled a real boner by firing Mike Turner, or Scott Flood. He already got fired from one cushy job, now he gets another cushy job. Thank you.
Okay. You got that off your chest. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Draper. I live at 500 South 19th Street, Belleville. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your vision for the Bicentennial Park. As Neighborhood Watch for the Bicentennial Park area, for the patrol area, I've had a lot of good responses from a lot of people that really like the park. They go out and fish. They're really happy with everything. I want to congratulate the new alder people who I don't all know everybody yet. But I do have a few things that I'd like to discuss. One of them I did talk to Debbie Belleville about, but I just wanted to make mention of it. The floating dock that's on the back lake behind the pavilion, the lower cubicles that are cut out, there's 2 sets of open cubicles around the railing. The bottom cubicles should be addressed as far as safety issues. There was a man actually fishing out there Tuesday before the official opening on Wednesday, and it slid off. His tackle box slid off the built-in bench, and it slid into the water, and everything was in there. There's been a child that was looking inward and almost fell in towards that. There should be some kind of grading on the bottom opening parts. I mentioned that to Debbie Belleville earlier, but she said it's all up to regulations.
We'll look at it. It was purchased with the regulations.
Yeah.
From the factory.
And then there was also a guy that was on his motor scooter, his handicap scooter, and the front tire went over the little lip there, and his front tire was kind of hanging in midair over the water. So it's just a little bit of a situation of safety as far as maybe getting grades on the bottom panels. The other thing that I would like to mention is that I have pretty much, the Neighborhood Watch works in the neighborhood. As you know, we have a high crime area in our neighborhood usually, and we're in Ward 2. Just to let you know, we are a high crime on our street. But we have the same issues that we've had with a similar neighbor who I can remain unknown, nameless this time, who you know I'm talking about. But last weekend, on the 28th, there was 50 cars parked. 50. We counted them. I had the police called 3 times. It doesn't do any good because the police drive through. You can't park from the belt line halfway down 19th Street and then park from Bunsen, from the yield sign, all the way down to the bread store. Okay?
They must have a heck of a party.
Well, I know that, but, it wasn't the noise. You would have surprisingly thought that it was the noise, but it wasn't. He's still working on cars. The police department are still not doing anything.
We're still checking.
Okay, now we have retaliation. Okay, I know, we have,
But let's talk, why don't you got some update, why don't you get with us, call me, I'm
I
talking.
do, you don't answer my phone
That's
calls.
not true, Kathy Draper. That is not true.
I've called the chief, I get no response.
Don't
I
say,
call Aaron,
don't say.
I call Aaron, I get nothing.
That's not true, Kathy.
Lately, since you've been reelected, I've had nothing. I've called Chief Clay, I've gotten nothing. In fact, I can tell you, I'm just gonna say this yet, okay? I have a little container full of nails and screws. I have 2 bills of retaliation of tires that I've had to have replaced in my neighborhood from him. And the sergeant that told me, that came out and did this, said to me, I can't do anything about it, it's over my head. I talked to the captain, which I will remain nameless. He told me as well, it's over his head. He can't do anything about this neighbor. Okay, so it's your head, Chief Clay head, somebody else's head. But I'm getting the retaliation on it, and I can't afford to keep buying tires.
Okay, Kathy, we will get with you. Someone will talk to you in the next 24 hours. And we will, as we have in the past, we will come out and listen, and we will work on this as we've been. So thank you tonight. You had a spell. But I will contact you
Okay.
by tomorrow. We'll set up a time, okay? And we've done that in the past. Mr. Griffin, I think you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. Lee Griffin, businessman, entrepreneur,
State your address,
multi-entrepreneur.
please.
Lee Griffin, 305 North Charles Street, businessman, entrepreneur, multi-entrepreneur, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. I'm here before you again, Mayor. And today, I'm saying, I'm becoming the voice of the African American community. The election showed us one thing, that people was ready for some change, some real diversity. You're the leader of this city, Mayor. Everybody's going to be looking at you. We got a very controversial prime housing bill that's causing a lot of stir. And I told you these things were going to happen. We got to work with everybody. Everybody's got to stop being at loggerheads. We got to work together. We got to do things for the betterment of the city. No more backwards thinking. We got to start thinking ahead now. We got to do things that everybody's going to benefit. We got people here poor. We got people here who's been disenfranchised. We got to turn this city around for the betterment. And the best is yet to come, Mayor. But it's going to be on your shoulders because you're our leader. We want to work with everybody. Again, I never met a person I didn't like, but it's going to be a plethora of issues and concerns, and we're going to constantly be fighting each other like little kids if we don't wake up. I welcome these new aldermen. I see diversity now. I think we're moving in the right direction, but we got to realize it's got to be bipartisan in what we do. It can't be one-sided. It ain't about the good government party no more. It's not about the unified independent coalition. It's about everybody putting their egos aside, because egos can be tyrants. If we don't get these egos aside, we're going to be disenfranchised. People are going to get tired of coming up here, all this bickering, all this arguing. These are the future. These young men up here, Mr. Cook, they're the future. We got to teach them a better way. We got to teach these kids a better way. We got to blow all these stereotypes. We got to go out and diligently get some people of different diversifications on these committees. I would love to see an African-American attorney up there. I would love to see some African-Americans in housing. That's been one of my biggest stickers. If you want to know how to get Lee Griffin to calm down, show me some African Americans, whether it's officers, whether it's inspectors. We haven't had a black inspector since Harry Johnson. Next year I want to have an African American organization and a culture event in City Hall. I want diversity for everybody because I don't see color. And if I do, it's incidental. But if we come up in here, we try to shove stuff down people's throats at the last minute. You're going to have ulcers. I'm going to have ulcers. My kids ain't going to be a part of a government because they see there's too much bickering going on. We got to work together. And on closure, I have nothing against Mr. Peters. I think he's going to be a fine man, but I want some people of color. I want a level playing field. I'm tired of these jobs being rotated around in nepotism and cronyism. Let's go out here and do some positive things. This community development situation, and I'm wrapping it up, dropping this thing on us all of a sudden. You know, we got a population here of 33%. The voters spoke out. They were tired. And if it was a two-way mayoral race, Mayor, I'm sure the results would have been different. But I respect you as our leader. But show some leadership. Let's work with these people. Because let's teach them the right way. And let's stop all this backwards thinking. Let's start working together. Or we're going to be the laughing stock of the United States of America. And the Justice Department will be coming back. We don't need no more litigation. Let's work together. So if anybody's got it in their heart to do the right thing on a Christian or whatever religion you have, let's work together. But let's get everybody involved. I would like to be making $60,000 a year or $95,000 a year. You know, I have a bachelor's degree. I'm just saying, you got people out here of color. Let's go out and get some people. Let's get some real diversity. Because everything you guys vote on now, we're going to be checking the list, we're going to be checking the fight, and the voters is going to let you know 2 years from now if they're satisfied or if they're disgruntled. So guys, let's work together. Thank you for your time. I wish you all best in all your endeavors. God bless you. God bless this city. This is a great city. I know it, you know it, and let's let the American people know it. We're going to work together. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I allowed to rebut anybody else, or do I have to?
Well, you got to give your name and address,
Okay, I
and
will.
you got to just keep it
I will.
character.
I will. My name is Mary Fisher, 6 Marshall Court, Belleville, Illinois. Mr. Griffin, I don't know exactly what you mean by working with people at this point in time, but I remember that there was a time when you were a homeowner on Monroe Street by Corey Park. Am I correct in that? Okay. I passed that house twice a day visiting my mother at the nursing home. There was so much trash there. I finally found out through the city that you were the property owner. I called and complained about that. What I finally figured out was happening, and I think the city probably did too. I don't know if you lived there or if you rented the property out, but there was somebody there that was hauling trash. What that person was doing, it was a one-family house, and they were breaking down the part of the trash that they could put in trash barrels. They were burning, at that point you could still burn, they were burning what they couldn't do with that. And there was a falling down shed there that was full of, I guess, stuff that was waiting to be burned or chopped up. Also, at some point, you owned a piece of property, and you might still, about between 38th and 37th on West Main, and many times on Saturdays, and I think we're limited. I don't have garage sales, but I think there's a limit to how many you can have in a month. Lots of times on Saturdays, and I know your mother used to own a furniture store, but lots of times on Saturdays, there would be furniture out in the front yard, just sitting there with for sale signs on it. So I don't know where you live now. I've not passed where you live on Charles Street. But if you really want to work with the city, it should have started back then, and not just now when you're up here raving about wanting African American people in power. I'm sorry, but if that is the property that you own, you know it, and you know that's true. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Rose Wilson, 322 West I Street, Belleville. And I hope that the mayor and the council, when the time comes for the crime-free housing, is put into consideration that we would like to go forward and not backward. When I see Tom here, Tom and I started together in the Franklin Neighborhood Association. The housing stock at that time was so dilapidated, floorboards fell in, people were afraid to call their landlord because they had no place to live, it was rat infested, in unimaginable conditions. It took many years to clean it up and get it to where we are right now. I hear people say, we want diversity, we want this. The mayor is supposed to do everything, like have a very pretty tied up package in the housing code. But then the other side wants something different. On the west end, they're not happy, so if he places an ordinance, then before you know it, we have 60 minutes here, and then it's discrimination, and it's profiling. If he puts an ordinance out there, then it gets wiped out because we have to worry about the homeschool children. We had asked for a tougher juvenile code for 10 years, Tom. You remember how many times we discussed that? When it came to fruition, it was more or less watered down. So what do you want from this man? On one side, he's supposed to do everything. On the other side, he's not doing it good enough. If God himself sat on his shoulders, I don't think it would be good enough. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes? A new face.
I have one question first.
Your name?
I'm sorry, Gene Bierman, 100 South 34th.
Okay.
And I'm here regarding the zoning appeal, case 26, but you've got two number 25s on the agenda.
That was a typo, obviously.
Okay.
Emily, can you correct that for us?
So I just want to read the note that I sent to the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's come to our attention that there will be come before the board, case 26, April 13, petition by Elizabeth Wisbaum, requesting a use variance in order to operate a business in an A1 single-family zoning district, specifically to operate a psychic reading operation. My wife and I are residents of the Lincoln Circle neighborhood for 34 years. We strongly urge the board to deny this request. Such variances open up the potential for other more intrusive and disruptive businesses. We believe there are certainly an adequate number of available business spaces that currently exist under the appropriate business zoning in the city and even in the neighborhood along Main Street. There's no need to begin to intrude on single-family zoning with business. Thank you.
Thanks. Hearing no one else, I'm going to close public participation. We're going to move into the regular part of the meeting. First item of business, I will recognize the character word of the month. This month, the month of May, the schools and all of us are reading and learning and reminding ourselves about self-discipline, meaning thinking about your words and actions and then making choices that are right. So it's a good character word, and we need to certainly spread that and certainly do our best to live by that. Who makes up the definitions? They are from the schools, right, Mary?
Yes, they, we've been talking about it.
Yeah. And they've been adopted a long time ago. Well, why don't you visit the basic initiative and have a discussion with them, because they're part of that too, right, Mary?
Yes.
Basic, okay. Okay, at this time I will ask for a motion, and let me explain first of all. I'm asking for a motion to approve my department heads and staff appointments for a temporary appointment pursuant to ordinance 3.08C. I thought about this long and hard, and on Friday I decided to do it this way. And this could just be for 2 weeks, but after what 2 years ago my staff went through, the first night when there was a number of new people elected, I wanted to make sure that if the new people needed some time to talk to the staff, talk to me, do some research, I would give them a little bit of time, because I didn't think it was fair the way we put the staff that night. I think in a kind of a crossfire. So I'm asking for a motion for the temporary appointments. If you all feel comfortable, the new people particularly, and you want to let me know in the next week or a couple of days ahead, we can put it on the agenda for the 20th. At the latest, it would be 30 days. But I would like to move this forward, but I'm sincere about this, that I think we need to make sure that you have adequate time. So I'm asking for a motion. We have a motion by Hayden, second by Seibert. Do I have any discussion? Yes, ma'am?
I'm concerned because some of
First of all, hold it. There's two of you raise your hands at the exact same time. Now, if I really go back, I've been really studying the rules recently. You're supposed to stand up and be recognized. Now, I'm not going to quite start that, okay? But maybe we will. So, Mrs. Schmidt had her hand up, and she can speak first.
I want to say something.
You don't have to stand.
First off, I want to thank the mayor for the orientation and the department heads for the orientation they put on for the new councilman. Since the election, you might understand why I say that, everyone went out of their way, and it might not have been necessary to work with me. You know, we didn't know. But they went out of their way, and I mean, to a man and a woman, they have been professional, hardworking people that seem to have nothing more than, you know, they want to do a good job and they're concerned about the good of the city. And I would have no problem voting them all permanent tonight. However, I would certainly let you know that I'm ready to go whenever.
That's good. That's one of the feedbacks I need. Okay, I thank you for that. Alderman Holt.
Would you please clarify again the time frame? You're saying between 2 weeks and?
I would like to do this on the 20th.
Depending on the feedback you get.
I would make sure that everybody has adequate time. If they have a need to go look at job descriptions, they'll be on file tomorrow afternoon in Jim Schneider's. I've just about had all of them turned into me now, the updates, and I've reviewed almost all of them today. I'll have them to you tomorrow, Jim. So the job descriptions will all be on file in the HR. And I just feel like if you want to talk to the department heads, you need to give them a call. If you have questions for me, I'm accessible. You can call me on my cell, you can call me in my office, and I'll be glad to answer that. But I think for the new people, I think that's a fair thing. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, so some.
I'm sorry, I wasn't finished.
I'm sorry. Okay, I
He
apologize.
always ignores me, so at least this time I got answered.
Alderman Schneider, now I just asked, the word was self-discipline. Could we just try for a second and not, I'm not ignoring you.
You did
I
in the previous
apologize.
meeting.
Alderman Holt, finish your statement, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I wanted to check on the time frame. My objection to that is we have a new department in here. So I'm reluctant to do that until we discuss that.
The new department was talked about, you mean Jim Schneider's department?
Yes.
It was talked about during budget time, and we went through that. It was talked about in committee. It was talked about.
Do you have that in meeting minutes? I really don't remember talking about starting a whole new department.
As I explained then, and I'm explaining now, we don't have any real budget other than Debbie Belleville's been shifted to the Director of Parks to free up some of the time that Jim can spend working on the neighborhood partnership and all the various groups and agencies that work to help strengthen Belleville. We are trying to build this collaborative effort so that the neighborhood partnership and community development as a whole can really go to the next level. Now, this year in the budget, there's virtually nothing in there for this other than Jim was doing all this on his free time, and that wasn't fair either. He was going to meetings and coordinating things almost every night of the week because he and a number of the staff feel very strong about the neighborhood partnership program and about community development as a whole. It works hand.
But still equally strongly in another direction. This has not been covered.
Well, it was covered.
About the
Yes.
ramifications of this.
There's no ramifications. We went through it we did go through it in the budget. We went through it, Mrs. Sullivan. You know what? We have a second on the motion, right? Who made the motion?
Okay, so you call for debate, so who's got debate?
Okay. Alderman Schneider, do you have something to add to this?
Yes, the positions that you was just talking about, is there going to be any pay increases for the three?
For the three,
And how I found out, I read about it in the paper.
For the three what?
From the parks, being, Jim being promoted, Debbie.
No,
being
the only pay increase is the regular percent of increase that they all, I'll take it back. Jason Poole did get, and we explained that in the, I know we did this, explained that in the finance various meetings. Jason Poole did get, and it's over a 2-year period, right, Debbie? We're bumping him slightly over 2 years, and Jamie, jump in here if you remember something I don't, because I don't have those notes in front of me. Jason actually, moving to assistant director, was actually making less than a couple of the maintenance people made with overtime last year. So we felt that was...
Why we weren't notified that you were doing this?
Alderman Schneider, we talked about this in length at all the various meetings in January, February, and March during finance and all the budget meetings. I explained, I went into detail about what my plans were and what we were doing.
All right, I'll fill out a FOIA for it, asking for the things. And I do think tonight it should be just temporary what we appoint.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Alderman Hayden?
Your Honor, so Sharon is moving to science and marketing, which that was the position was approved
Yes, it was.
by the city, removing Aaron to.
Aaron's going to be my executive assistant.
Basically, she's taking Sharon's
Right.
spot. So
And then we are looking for a administrative assistant / secretarial, however you want to call it, to be in the office yet. And that's to be determined.
I've said, I mean, and I'm not here to argue it, I honestly have to say, and I don't have no problem with it, you know, but I honestly don't specifically recall any discussion of a change of Mr. Schneider's title at any finance meeting. I don't recall any change of title of these others. And I was at those meetings. I know we discussed the discussion of adding a person in economic development because I voted against that because I made a motion to amend it and switch it to hiring a police officer. But I don't, we can go back and listen to the tapes, and I'm not trying to put you in an interview position, Mayor, but I don't believe that those were discussed at the time.
This has not been a secret.
I'm just telling you what was discussed at finance. I'm not going to be on that anymore, so I won't have to recall or worry about it.
Well, you're certainly welcome, you know, just to change as we talked. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the temporary appointments. Any further discussion on the fact that they're temporary tonight? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Aye. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony. Aye. Sillsby. Aye. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. Aye. White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Aye. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving down to the next thing. I'd ask for an Alderman Page before we go. Is that additional committee okay?
Public house meeting, open house, yes.
Okay. Tonight in front of you, in your packet, you have a list of all the council committees. There was two small typos on your list. On Public Health and Housing, Alderman Hayes' name was inadvertently missed, my fault. He would be the 5th member of that committee, with Gabby Ridgewitz being the chairman, Ken Kinsella, Bob White, Jim Musgrove, and Joe Hayden. On the next page, on the back page, the other thing that was omitted, the person to be announced in Ward 4 will also be a member of the Planning Commission. By ordinance, we have 2 aldermen on the Planning Commission. So the person who is going to be announced as the other alderman in Ward 4 will also be assigned to that duty. So with those 2 amendments, do I hear a motion to approve the council appointments? Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, on personnel, you have 2 aldermen from the same ward. When I was asking about this, to get the committee replacement, you said you had to wait because you couldn't have 2.
There are if you go to the ordinance book.
But I'm just telling you what you told me.
I know, but I'm telling you, what I told you was, by ordinance, several of the committees say 1 person from each ward must be on the committee. And when the committee size is capped, or is stated to be 8, that would be 1 person from each ward. So, you know, that was the answer. In this particular topic, personnel, which is only meets as needed if we have some situation that the personnel, HR can't handle, which most things today, this personnel committee is nothing like it was years ago before the city council had a human resources department. Today, most everything is handled there or in the police and fire commission. We really don't get into many personnel. Now, if I was to ask to terminate a department head, then we'd have a special personnel meeting before we came to council, or to discipline a department head.
Can I ask also why you only have the good GGP, you have no independence on here?
I will tell you that when I looked at these committees, Alderman Schneider, I labored over this very many hours. I did my best to look at people who were bringing something to the table I felt that, you know, had and was balanced. If you look at this, first of all,
Just for Ward 1.
no, hold on, let me tell you what my theory was, where I was coming from. I wasn't looking at who they were. They all had been aldermen for a number of years. Mr. Heisler, in his experience at work, deals with people and manages people every day. Mr. Kinsella was on the school board for 23, 24 years and dealt with a lot of personnel issues. Dr. Silsby was an administrator at the high school for a long time and has much experience with personnel issues, unions. Johnny Anthony has experience dealing with leadership, being a retired assistant fire chief in East St. Louis, and represents a little diversity. Gabby Rujewicz was a 40-year member of the Belleville Police Department and is a working guy who represents for all the working people here in the city, the 400-some city employees, is that kind of person who represents the working people very fairly, and I thought this was a good group. Last year I don't even know that we had to meet for personnel, but it's a committee that meets as needed. We will have to call the meeting and give notice, and you'll hear about it, and certainly no decisions are going to be made until they come to council. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I caught that you're putting the Ward 4 empty chairperson in planning. Are there other spots you have set
If you look-
aside for that?
Other spots who applied for the planning position?
No. Are there other spots when that chair is?
Yeah, they're going to be, if you look at the thing.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, well, you got it on, if you go back, it's on finance, they're on streets and grades, they're on traffic committee, and they're going to be on planning. So that person, and I don't honestly know who it is yet, is going to be on 4 potential committees. Now, if they get picked and they have a conflict with one of those, we might be asking one of you to make a change or to add a committee if they take off one. We'll just have to be flexible. This is kind of unique. This is the first time in my...
Ordinance and legal had previously had 5 people on it, right now you've only got 4.
That's an oversight. It has to have 5. Where are we at? Oh, that's a mistake.
Right in the middle.
That's a mistake. I got my notes up in my thing. I had somebody else scheduled
So
for
there
that.
is one more.
That was a, so we'll have to, I'll have to get my grid. We'll have to amend that when we go.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yes.
I asked you specifically if a good number of people were going to be committee heads, and that is exactly how it worked out.
Well, and I told you before, and I'll tell you again. I looked at seniority, I looked at experience, I looked at people who are, I feel can be fair and hold a meeting in a way that represents the city well. So most of it's based on experience and
Well, Mr.
seniority.
Mayor, I assure you, I have run hundreds of meetings in multiple states and countries. I'm pretty sure I can handle this.
Well, it is the mayor's recommendation, and this is what I'm recommending. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask, where are you going to make the
We're going to start that. Go ahead.
I mean, under the rules, when a motion is set, each person gets to speak to it once.
Right.
Okay, we'll go ahead. We'll honor, we've been doing it in the past. So you've been a pretty nice guy up till now, huh? Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
All I was going to ask is who's going to replace that in the end?
Who's going to replace what?
Tim Carpenter's seat. Or will it be Dean Hart's if he moves over? vice
Okay,
versa?
but we'll have a decision relatively soon. I'm just working through it. There's been a lot of appointments, a lot of considering, we got a lot of things are working right now. Believe me, I've been working last 2 weekends, all weekend, trying to get things done and get things moving forward.
So now that we know the new rules, as far as speaking,
They're the old rules. The rules that you've always had.
but what we've always gone by. So I make the suggestion if we have anything to say when we are called on for, take and pause, and don't give up your spot until you're done talking.
Alderman Schneider, I'm not trying. Mr. Peters? Okay, that's fine. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. We've got this, and we at one time had another chart that was kind of a grid that showed you.
Yeah, I looked at my packet today. I'll have that put back in.
That's very helpful.
No, it was, and I do have that. I mean, I do have it on my desk. I'm trying to see if I have it here. That's why I thought if I had it in this folder, I could maybe figure out who the other person was real quick. But, okay, let me look. So anyway, what was the one you said on?
Ordinance and legal have 4 names.
This is it, just to figure out. I'm gonna have to, that's even worse. I guess my head was spinning. We'll have to come back and fill that person as soon as possible. We have a motion to complete these other committees. Alderman Hayden?
Can I ask, seeing that I'm not on finance anymore, would it be possible for me to at least, I mean, it don't have to be mailed to me like it was, I would still like to get the packet and agenda so I know what's going on.
That's not a problem, is it, Jamie? Not at all? We can email it to you.
That's fine.
Okay. Anyway, all of you can have that who are not on the committee. That's not a problem. We've done that for a couple in the past. So we have a motion and a second. I was just trying to figure out if I solved my mystery here. I guess not. I'm not quick on my feet here right now. This is very simple. Okay, I ask you to approve as is, with the changes of adding Joe Hayden to Health and Housing, and the to be announced to go to the Planning Commission. So we have a motion and a second, is that correct? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby. Aye. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, at this time I'd ask for a motion to approve Dave Martinson to serve the remaining 2 years of a 3-year term on the Fire Pension Board. Motion by Alderman Bob White, second by Mike Heisler. Any discussion? Roll.
Could you explain what happened with somebody else?
Mr. Turner was a voting member on the pension board. He had 2 years left,
Okay,
so I'm replacing his seat.
okay, and is it appropriate for somebody on there who takes that function?
A lot of them are. In fact, I feel very comfortable having him be a department head and be a past alderman. He'll be a very fair watchdog. Plus, he has a vested interest. He has a pension.
Right.
Now, if you look at the law, by statute, most of them on there are retired firemen or firemen currently.
Your Honor, the people on that pension board do not set their pensions. They just make sure that the monies are there and they oversee the money. They do not set their own pension.
I understand it, yeah.
Want to make
Okay.
that clear.
So we have a motion and a second for Dave Martinson to fill a 2-year vacancy on the Fire Pension Board. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Jim Rokita to serve as the 2-year term on the Police Pension Board. Okay, Alderman Schmidt and second by Alderman Anthony. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time I'd ask for a motion to reappoint Tom Dingus to serve a 2-year term on the Police Pension Board.
So move, Your Honor.
Motion by Rudrowitz, second by Heisler. Discussion. 5, I think. I don't have that.
Will this
It's 5.
fill all the positions?
Yeah, there's 2 that have their terms up, so. Yeah, there's the other ones are Don Hayden and one current police officer, another retiree, I think, so. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second to reappoint Tom Dingus. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. The last appointment, I'd ask for a motion to appoint Linda Fields to serve a 3-year term on the Board of Police and Fire Commissioners. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion? And just for the sake of showing that I'm moving in the right direction, this is the first woman we've ever had on the Police and Fire Commissioners. Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Reading of the minutes, I'd ask for a motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes held April 15, 2013. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve and file the minutes of the April 15th, 2013 meeting. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Kinsella. Any discussion on the minutes? Yes, ma'am, Alderman Holt.
10, when we were discussing the Belleville Historic Society, I would like it noted in the minutes that Engineer Gregowitz did have that bill hand delivered to the society.
Yeah, I checked with him, and he told me he had a hand delivered.
Yeah, it was
At
a personal request.
It was at Mr. Betts's request.
Larry Betts
Not
asked for
to
it.
his house that way.
Well, Larry Betts asked that it be taken to the Historical Preservation Society, and they told my carrier. So he
Did
was
you
told
ever
to
say Clark County Historical Society?
develop
Oh, it's in Howard. Where did you get it?
on Washington.
That's the St. Clair County.
Very good. So
There's two different organizations.
Okay, well,
it was a personal request for Larry Betts that it be handled. Yes.
okay, I checked with Mr. Gregowitz, and I believe him, so a little confusion, but we do know there's two historical societies. We have a motion and we have a second to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes and filing them signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next thing, we have claims, payroll, and disbursements.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the claims, payroll, disbursements. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Kinsella. Do I hear any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Thomas Lasheen, attorney, when did we get use him as an attorney?
That's for a closing cost, I believe, is that, no, what is that, Jamie?
That was ongoing litigation. He tried to serve as a mediator.
Oh, okay, I remember now, He was appointed as a mediator.
And on the sales tax tip district, do we not approve the ones that get the sales tax?
I'm not quite following you.
We give Baus Properties $300. Do we not approve the committee, the businesses that get?
Who was the one that got
That
that?
was for easement. That wasn't.
Yeah, that wasn't sales tax, that was an easement.
But we use the Belmont Bikeway.
Was under the sales tax.
It's under the sales tax tip because private, private trail practice.
Yeah, that, we paid it out of the sales tax tip.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear Eric. It was for Belleville what?
It was the bike trail,
Oh, bike trail.
right, Tim and Jamie?
Yes.
It was an easement we purchased for the bike trail, and the payment was taken out of the sales tax tip. So that's the confusion maybe Alderman Schneider had there, okay?
And the other question is Wetler Development, Tax Incentive Financing District number 3. How many more payments do we have to Wetler Development?
Well, it looks like there's probably going to be one more. We just say the final walkthrough, and these are progress payments that we make on every project that we have.
Now, is this the extra for the damage that was done from the flood at the park, or is this the part of the bridge?
The spillway that was built, is that what you're talking about, on the Creek Bridge?
From the last,
The flood. That was done by teams, the guy that was doing the bridge. He had the equipment out there to do that project.
how much was that?
It was right at $9,000-$10,000.
Didn't work, I mean,
It was a day's worth of work. And it had to be fixed. The slope was failing, as you can see in all the pictures in the video.
yeah, I have bottom. But I was just wondering, it didn't come before us to approve the work.
Fix that spillway. It was a safety concern that had to be fixed right away. And it was.
It was a danger concern.
Okay, and then the last.
And Medler was, Deans was still out there. And we,
In sales tax tip bonds, one, or IS, Bank of New York. I'm sorry, I don't remember, what was that for? The bond payment. So it goes to the Bank of New York. That's who is the.
Developers Bank.
No, it's not the developers bank, it's just the bank that holds the bond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're the
Bond.
bank agents for the bond.
Okay.
Gotcha. Trustee is the word.
Did we change oil companies for the gas for the city vehicles?
No.
It was Dickerson,
Yeah.
Dickerson was bought.
They were bought out.
They were bought out.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
So
Some of
it's not.
some of this stuff I just don't think about because it's, you know,
They were bought out by.
Can you tell me under administration what the appraisal company fee was for?
Amen. The two houses on 17th Street
Oh, okay.
that we're getting ready to bring forward to figure out the plan of attack on Cleveland for sale.
Okay, and under the fire department, there's an awful lot of individuals who I assume are, because I didn't recognize some of their names, are employees in the hundreds of dollars.
That was, they went to academy and their
Oh, okay,
reimbursement.
so it's just reimbursement. Okay, well, I figured it was something like that, thank you. Mr. Mayor, can you explain Bill's auto polish for $130?
I had a vehicle cleaned up. It was several years, and it had some really, you know, why? We have vehicles, and you know, some of them take them. I try to wash mine a lot. In 2 years, I had it cleaned up, and I had it buffed out because of different scratches and different things, trying to make sure that the vehicle stays in good shape. And it was once in 2 years, it was in my budget for maintenance. I didn't go over my budget.
Okay, last question, back to sales tax tip. The Catholic Diocese in St. Henry's.
That was also easements for the bike trail.
Those were, yeah, those were checks that was cut, but that project has been pushed off to August.
But nevertheless, we secured those easements, and we had to have those easements to get the bike trail through their property. Okay? Anything else? If I'm not mistaken, we were on claims, so roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella. Aye. Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Sillsby. Aye. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove. Aye. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Claims are paid. Treasurer's report of city, I ask for a motion to approve the treasurer's report of City of Belleville funds and statement of cash and investments for March 2013. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Silsby.
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion on that? All in favor of accepting and filing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. City Attorney's report dated April 23rd, 2013. Do I hear a motion to accept? Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear any discussion?
I don't know, Mr. Peters, are you familiar with this report in any way, any of these properties?
I've read the report and talked to Mr. Flynn.
Well, I know, but,
I don't, hopefully, I understand the litigation of the Mr. Flynn. My counsel will not have to do anything substantial with any of those pending litigation.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the attorney's report. That was filled out by Mr. Flynn before he left. All in favor of accepting this report and filing it signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning Board of Appeals advisory reports.
Case 23, Ray Geller, Jim Ellison, requesting a special use permit in order to use the property for interior miniature storage units at 6504 Foley Drive, located in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
I would make the motion that we approve that the zoning board has worked 5-1.
We have a motion by Alderman Arlitt.
Second by Musgrove.
Second by Alderman Musgrove of the ward. What was the recommendation to?
It's to grant.
The recommendation from the zoning board was to grant. We have any other questions about that particular request, that motion? All in favor of approving case number 23 and have the proper ordinance drawn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case 24, Mildred Raymond, the Patriot, requesting a special use permit for a liquor license at 20 South Belt West, located in a C2 heavy commercial district.
Motion, Your Honor, to accept the zoning board recommendation and have proper orders drawn.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Silsby, to approve case number 24 and have the proper ordinance drawn. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion and have the proper ordinance drawn, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Case 26, Elizabeth Wisbaum, requesting a use variance in order to operate the business of conducting psychic readings at 145 South 33rd Street in an A1 single-family zoning district.
Do I hear a motion from anyone about the motion by Alderman Randall to deny? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Coletti. And what was the
It
recommendation?
was a unanimous denial.
Unanimous denial. We have a motion and a second to deny. All in favor of accepting the motion and voting to deny this request, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Case 27, Russell McCullough, requesting a special use permit in order to place a metal structure for additional storage at 4400 North Belt West, located in the C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Make a motion, Mayor, to approve
Proper ordinance.
zoning board and have proper orders.
Motion by Alderman Rudowitz. I hear a second. Second by Alderman Randall. Any discussion? Motion to approve case number 27, have a proper ordinance drawn. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. More reports. I'd ask for a motion to approve the long-term control plan construction pay request number 34 from Cordy Lujan and Goodman Wade and Merchant for a total of $770,338.69.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time I'd ask for a motion. Our Alderman Heisler, you want to go ahead and do this?
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf of the Master Sewer Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve vacating a sewer easement for St. Paul's Home at 1021 West D Street. So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Schmidt. Yes, ma'am.
Point of order, this does not actually come from the master sewer committee because they have not met since we were done.
I think it was discussed before, right?
We discussed that in the meeting of April.
Yes.
Okay.
It was discussed.
Yeah, it was discussed at the April meeting.
Okay.
So we have a motion and we have a second to approve this request to vacate this sewer easement. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time, we'll go back to the topic at hand at 6:30. To open the discussion, I would ask for someone to consider a motion to approve the proposed amendments to the ordinance pertaining to the city attorney for the city of Belleville as outlined in your packet and as was discussed earlier. We have a motion from Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Alderman Heisler. I will now reopen discussion on the what was happening before. The ladies and gentlemen who weren't here before, we're in the process, and it is the mayor's appointment to bring to this council a replacement for Mr. Flynn, who did not seek reappointment this year. When I asked the council to approve Mr. Peters as the interim, and they so did, immediately he was looking at this as he and I were starting to talk about interviewing and him working with me on a few candidates that were showing some interest. The ordinance that we've had all these years was much more vague than I guess I ever paid attention to. We had Mr. Flynn and Mr. Sprague for 30, 35 years. They lived in the city, they practiced in the city, and we never really went back because it was just the norm. As Mr. Peters stated earlier in the meeting tonight, the ordinance is vague to where technically what we're trying to do is, I think, tighten it up a little bit.
Trying to narrow the field of potential applicants, yet keep as many qualified people available. selection.
Okay, so that's where we are if you came in here late on the previous discussion. Alderman Hayden.
Yes, John, I'm just going to reiterate again my concerns and why I cannot support this ordinance at this time. Again, under section 2, then it gets into qualifications of section 3.14F. I concur with Alderman Randall. I think that it would do us justice to explore and actually put in there some general qualifications, what we're actually looking for in relation to a city attorney. The city attorney shall maintain attorneys a regular private practice of law within the city of Belleville. I think that is basically limiting the pool of qualified applicants and having the most qualified city attorney that's going to work for the city council as a whole and people as a whole is the most important matter here, not that they have a law practice in the city of Belleville. City attorney shall hold legal or equitable title of all or part of the real estate in which the office is maintained. That even further, again, the purpose of this is, I see it, is limiting our capacity for finding the best attorney. The city attorney shall reside within the city of Belleville or within 5 miles of the city limits and shall not live in a different municipality. 5 miles in some respects is not that far, and as we discussed earlier during the special meeting, the clause where a different municipality rules out somebody because of potential conflict of interest, as I pointed for and I want it noted in the record, that the last major litigation, not having a conflict, etc., that the city of Belleville has is actually with Stuckey Township as related to the sewer issues out there. So consequently, it is flawed in the fact that if you're going to dismiss somebody from living in Swansea and say it's okay for somebody in St. Clair or Stuckey Township and not recognize that there could be conflicts of them living there, I think that portion of this ordinance doesn't accomplish what its intended goal is. The city attorney shall agree to annex to the city of Belleville should such a petition be filed concerning its residents. I don't even know who would even, file a petition to annex on somebody's.
Well, as we said earlier, Mr. Hayden, if the candidate lived in Chanot Place and there was an annexation agreement, hypothetically, to annex that area, all we're saying is that, the person would have to, agree to annex into the city if they're working for the city.
Okay. Each subsection 1 through 4 above must be satisfied during the city attorney's entire appointment for 1 year prior to the attorney's initial appointment. Once again, we're even going, all I see through every one of these languages is our pool of qualified attorneys going down, 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 down. And I think that's going to be detrimental to the community. City attorney, and I'm going to reiterate, as I said before, we're going to state qualifications for the city attorney. I think that they should be the same qualifications for the assistant city attorney. And I want to state, as I said, at the 6:30 special meeting for the record, this is the time you can all disagree, but this is a contracted professional person, and this is the time and place that we should be looking at limiting the perk of getting health insurance, pension, and other special privileges, and that's my particular opinion. And lastly, as I noted during the 6:30 meeting, the name for me on the roll call sheet needs to be fixed. But I cannot support this at this time, Your Honor. I would love to discuss it and look into making amendments, but I don't think tonight is the time to do it. The best option in my mind, truly, if we want to be serious about this and try to work out what is best, would be to postpone approving this, this evening, and let's sit down and discuss it some more instead of 30 minutes before the meeting tonight and doing it tonight. This is a serious, if not one of the most important positions in the city of Belleville, and yet we're going to spend 30 minutes in this meeting when we first didn't see this until Friday. And sometimes when you move too fast, you shoot yourself in the foot. Thank you.
Who's next? Alderman Holt. Would you please speak into the microphone?
I would like to concur with my colleague that I have multiple objections to this, not the least of which is the amount of time that we had to look at it. However, over the weekend, I did consult with an attorney in another town who does practice in municipal law, who assured me this residency requirement is an archaic one. It is not what we need to find the best person for Belleville. Holding your office within the city limits is another very restrictive requirement. And it also lets out anybody who may have retired from private practice but kept up all of their
They're exempt.
Where does it say?
In the statute.
Could you give me the number?
Okay, 303B1.
If the attorney fails.
The city fails to offer any reason other than voluntary attendance of private practice or laws. In other words, if that's the reason why he doesn't qualify, he doesn't get terminated.
Okay, all right, I see what you mean.
And we looked at that because, you know, there could be someone who's getting out of regular practice, could be a retired judge.
Sure.
You know, could be, you know, opens the fields up quite a
All
bit.
right, I feel like I understand the buy Belleville and let's support ourselves. And if we were just looking, I would make this analogous looking for a doctor. If I'm looking for a general practitioner, yes, there ought to be enough GPs in Belleville, I could find somebody. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a specialist. We're talking about somebody who is well versed in municipal law. And why limit the pool to the smallest amount rather than the largest and include the whole greater St. Louis area? There are other firms that does quality work for us that are in St. Louis or in other communities. It is ridiculous to think that they have to live here to give us our money's worth.
Well, and that's why our recommendation was to loosen up the restrictions of territory and give the 5-mile radius, because we did disagree that there's a lot of the attorneys who do live in Signal Hill, Country Club, Powder Mill, Chanel Place, etc., that are in the area, and that does widen the scope a lot. But those same people still have ownership in our communities. They're going to church, their kids are going to school, they're shopping here, and I still personally feel very strong that if they're going to make $109,000 a year from the taxpayers of Belleville, that it would be very nice that they have their practice and that they're from at least within the community that they're doing business in.
But that limits us. Rather than getting the best in the whole St. Louis area, we're getting the best that has chosen to practice here. Or, I'm sorry, we talked earlier about well-known at the courthouse as a qualification.
I think the point there is that, and listen, you over grabbed onto that. I think the point is someone who is respected and well-known is somebody who has experience and who is known for their expertise and their stature, that they're respected. I think we want somebody who has a reputation that when they're representing the city of Belleville, people say, they got a good attorney. So we're talking about being well-known in that they have a history, a track record. And I did put in there, but I agree with Alderman Randall. I think my rule of thumb I've been going by is basically I think the person has to have a minimum of 10 years experience.
As general.
As general.
You were not willing.
No, I understand. If you go by the state statute, the mayor has the right and the duty to appoint these things. This is by state statute and by our ordinance as well. So I don't really know that you can hand tie a mayor in the future. I'm I'm asking for these, well, when you compare to what we had in the ordinance, ma'am, there was next to nothing.
Well, could we at least put in the ordinance that they're licensed to practice by the state of Illinois?
This would actually establish, if you require that they have a practice here in Belleville.
Then they have to practice law, that's what we, that's true.
Illinois resident, Illinois license attorney. I'm not positively.
And we can add that. I mean, I don't disagree, we talked about that, that's where Tom came back and said, well, if they're set up shop here in Belleville, he says, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a license in, Illinois. Otherwise, why would they invest in being in practice here? I mean, that really wouldn't make any sense. So I think we can, but we can still add that language specific.
The ordinance itself also, the main ordinance already says they have to represent an individual in the courts in Illinois. Technically, I guess they can pro-hoc every piece of litigation we have, but I can now think that that would be a ridiculous thing for a lawyer to do.
So I mean, in a sense, the meat is there that they have to have an Illinois license. Folks, I think there's a bigger discussion here, and Alderman Holt, once again, you brought it up, that you want me to act quickly, and you want me to be nailed down to 30 days or less. I'm trying to adhere to that. We're not trying to stretch this out over months and months, but I'm trying to put something in here that we never had before. Now, it's just like, Alderman Hayden, I will respond to one of your things. If you really wanted to go contractual, that should have been something that was brought up during the budget process. Because then we would have had to weigh that out. If you're not going to pay the benefits, how much more if they're going to start charging hourly, or how we're going to do this? Because I assume if you're not going to pay them a salary, you're going to have to probably charge hourly.
They are contractual.
But I would say this, if you find somebody who meets your 10-year requirements, who meets the requirements of the ordinance, I would say 70% of them are going to have their own insurance anyway.
Probably.
Right, but they were taking our insurance.
But
we are hiring them contractually, Mayor. We have a contract.
We do have a contract, you're right.
It's a contract employee. It's not a city employee, as the department heads sit out there. We have a contract, so it's a contracted employee. I have to do it, Mayor, at least so I can say that I tried to place some kind of reasoning and common sense in the process, and at this time, I'm going to make a motion to postpone this and forward it to the Legal and Ordinance Committee for further discussion and review. I think that is the right thing for us to do tonight, because I think that, I don't know how all of the, I can't speak for them, but I don't know how all of the city councilmen can totally grasp what we're trying to do here, and instead of voting and having a major, gulf between the people here, let's see if we can try to come up with something that we can all support and agree, because I think that that's the best thing to have when the city attorney comes in.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Hayden, a second by Alderman Schneider, to postpone.
Forward to the ordinance and legal committee.
Ordinance and Legal Review Committee.
Could it not be in yet on the next
Well,
agenda?
and if we're going to have to do something here, because as I told you, although we can still...
They can call a special meeting.
I understand it, but we're going to have to, first of all...
I'll make that part of the motion.
We're going to have to add this person we're missing on that committee.
Right.
So
I'll make it as part of the motion, and that a special meeting, an ordinance, legal review, you adding your person, I know you got to get the fifth person, but get that committee together, let's see if we can't get some more dialogue going here of what we're trying to do and accomplish. And this may, Your Honor, give some of the other aldermen a chance to propose some amendments that they may not be.
And what I'm hearing primarily from you and Alderman Holt, though, you really want to lift most of the restrictions, period.
So the residency.
The residency, you want no residency.
I'm not saying no necessarily no residency. I think the requirement of them living in the city for a year and having an established practice here.
But you understand Mr. Peters' comment earlier, if they don't have to live in the city for a year, the federal guidelines are when we hire somebody that they have 15 months to move into the city. If we're back to those standards, right, Mr. Schneider? So I would assume that that would apply to them. So if we don't put this requirement in here, the appointment's for 12 months at a time. They could take the year and never have moved in, even if they told us they were going to. So that was the only reason
Would we legally have the ability to take that requirement? It's a contracted employee, so with the contract, we would have the ability, in my mind, to change that.
We'd have to look at that. I think we'd have to look
I mean,
at
it's a
that.
contract employee, we can put that in the contract.
I don't know if it matters if it's a contract employee, but just certainly you do that.
You know,
You define your position as you will.
you know, and maybe, you know, maybe 15 miles, 10 miles, you know.
Is that the biggest hangup tonight? You want to increase the mileage to 10?
I've summarized all of my hangups that I think need to be, just, I just think that we're rushing this, and we're rushing it on probably the most important staff appointment that we make in many respects. And I just think that you can certainly carry on with your discussions of who you're looking at, and maybe even share with the Ordinance and Legal Review Committee, if we postpone this year, I don't know, some of the other concerns that have come up, to see if there's an agreement with the city council members that, you know, if I was sitting in your shoes and I had an attorney that I think is the best for this city, and the person lives in Swansea and is going to do the job and is committed to the city of Belleville and has that 10 years of experience, then I would not want myself restricted to not being hired that person.
I see what you're saying, but if we get into, as we do occasionally, into, we're competing for business, sometimes with our neighboring cities. We're competing on annexation situations. We're competing on sewer situations. I just think if they live in that other city, it makes it it just is an automatic conflict of interest.
That, Your Honor, to me, when we got two attorneys here, that's almost insulting to the professionalism of the attorney. They know when they have a conflict of interest.
Talking about the different kinds of conflicts. They could have, what the mayor's saying is they could have a personal conflict. And they're right, if they have that, they can realize that, and then they would have to recuse themselves.
We have it, right.
Yeah, you're doing that. And I don't see that provision as being, I mean, if someone wants to take up the municipality's part, I don't see that as being a big hindrance to the ordinance. To me, the question is, at least looking at the draft of this is, do you want your city attorney to be invested in this community, or are you willing to take somebody from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who's willing to come down here for $109,000 and represent you at a courthouse?
We already, Mr. Peters, we already bring a guy down from Chicago to negotiate our city employee contract. So, you know, it's not like we haven't done this before. You know, I just think we should take a little more time. You know,
I'm just going to add my 2 cents that I don't mind the residency requirement as much as the first two, having the regular practice located in Belleville as well as the equitable title or lease under those provisions. I live here in Belleville and have for a little bit now. I could not be the city attorney. And so, you know, I think that limits us in our search, but the residency, I don't mind the attorney actually living in Belleville. I would just to broaden it a little bit. Might want to loosen up those.
Someone could amend the ordinance. I mean, like I said,
right.
This is drafted for whoever wants it. If someone wants to propose an amendment to take out 314F1 and 2, and somebody seconds it, we go.
Well, we do already have a motion and a second.
Well, we have a motion proposed to postpone. Mr. Kinsella.
Okay. As this proposal exists now, whether it passes tonight or not, does not really change who you're probably going to appoint, because you're probably going to use your own criteria. I mean, that's why it's the mayor's choice.
Well, that's true.
You're probably going to look for someone who lives in Belleville, let's say, okay? So what we're really doing is if this does not pass, you'll have a much broader group to choose from. So,
this does not affect your appointment, basically, of whoever you're going to choose, because you're going to use your own criteria. That's your choice.
You may have to consider other people based on criteria.
I see. Usually, like, it would narrow the field some.
Yes.
We felt like, you know, we did feel like by expanding into 5 miles that we probably pick up some more people potentially eligible to be considered. But, you know, like I said, I haven't been out interviewing yet. So, and we've had maybe 2 basic conversations, and then I told them, I said that we wanted to clean this up before we had any serious conversations at all. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask Alderman Hayden, and I think it was Alderman Schneider that have the current motion to table, if they are willing to withdraw that, I don't remember who made the initial motion on this. If they are willing to accept the modification of removing 1 and 2 under 3.14F.
So 1 and 2, if we reduced 1, then
maybe you don't have the office in Belleville and don't have to have equitable interest in their title. But they're still required to spend 5 miles.
Do you want to make it 10 miles? Does that make it?
Actually, I
understand, but I'm going to tell you right now, I really do feel strong that we want someone who's going to be in our midst, in our community. They're going to have their heart in it more if they have a vested interest. Their kids going to school here, they go to church here. If they live within, we know that a lot of people live within a number of miles, and they're still, Belleville is their town. It's Belleville. They may live in, you know, a neighboring nearby real close, but they're Belleville. And I think that's what I'm looking for, and we're looking for, is to keep that sense of Belleville. If you want to take out the part about the ownership on the building, we just thought that was a safeguard to make, that might make some of you more happy that we were trying to tighten it up. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, since you're wanting to get this done tonight and you want us to craft our motion, do you at least have any possibility, I know you don't tell the name, but do you have any?
I currently got about 4 people who've expressed interest. But a
Just
couple,
interest, or I mean, are they?
But I will tell you this, there's 2 more people who've expressed interest who don't live within the city limits, the corporate city limits exactly. So they would be out of it unless we modify this.
So everybody's in it right now.
Well, right now, we really, yeah. But the way I think the way we were all interpreting the ordinance of the past, I assumed the city residency was intact. I have to apologize, but I don't pretend.
I don't believe it is.
I don't know. I don't pretend to have memorized all this, and much of it's outdated.
Would it make that much of a difference for us to do our motions, as we've said, and have it to ordinance and legal, and if we had to have a special ordinance and legal, have it and put it on the next agenda?
Now, what I would say about it is if the council can reach consensus on the residency requirement, that alone will satisfy the desire to limit the pool and determine which candidates that have applied or qualified on that basis. So just the residency requirement, all this, I mean, whether you voted through or not, I guess I don't particularly care, but you give the mayor insight that a residency requirement is something that the council wants.
Let me just ask this. Let me ask this. You don't even have to raise your hand, but how many of you feel that a 5-mile or 10-mile residency, I'll even extend it to 10, that's important? How many of you feel that that's important? Raise your hands if you feel that's important. Raise your hands up. So,
important from one perspective.
Important requirement. Important for my appointment. That they live within 5 to 10 miles. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people in the council feel like some kind of even though we're loosening it from what perception was that we had residency, to a 5 to 10 or say 10-mile radius. If we then, is the other issue the hang up? I would like to say that they have to.
Your Honor, the appropriate thing would be to send it to the appropriate committee and let's flush these things out.
That's fine, Alderman, but then we're talking about our special meeting, I'm talking about a few more meetings. We're going to have, you know, another special meeting or two if we're going to try to stay within a 4 to 6 week period of getting the city attorney.
I think we can call a special meeting.
Okay, well, we can call one, you're right, but I'm just, hopefully they'll agree. Alderman Schmidt.
I have a problem with, section 1, if the attorney's regular private practice is not in the city of Belleville. We pay him $109,000 a year, and something comes up where we need the attorney, and he's in court out late, and he can't get back here, or he can't get to the courthouse in time. And yeah, he may be able to call somebody and have something filed and have it done over the phone, but that sometimes isn't the same as having the attorney acceptable. So
That
that's where
same thing applies if he's in court in St. Clair County. He's
Yeah,
still
but
not gonna come,
right
he's
across
not
the
gonna
street.
leave the case he's on to come deal with
You
us.
can pass a note to him very easily, and then he can probably get recess in his court and talk.
I will have to say that over the years, we have become pretty accustomed to the fact that we were pretty, I don't know, spoiled or whatever you want to say, but our city attorney's offices were within a block or two of City Hall. So many times when we had to run law packages or, things that we needed, or ordinances prepared for staff, or if staff had to run in and have a meeting, it has made it a lot more opposed to, so we've never ever had the thought of having somebody in St. Louis and having them be our city attorney. I do have to believe that will be a lot more awkward as far as coordinating that. I think if they were in Madison County, it'd be a lot more awkward. There's something said for having someone here, because I will tell you, the city attorney and the mayor and our staff probably are together 4 days a week at a minimum. At a minimum. Alderman Schneider?
Yes, Alderman Hayden made a motion, and I seconded, and he added that we have a special meeting, that I think that's what we should do. The motion's been made and seconded. And then have a special meeting, and then put it on the next city council agenda.
Okay, Alderman Hayden, you have something else to add? Okay, we have a motion right now. If you vote for Alderman Hayden and Alderman Schneider's motion, then this is postponed. If you vote it down, then the discussion can continue, or we can go from there. So roll call on the motion to postpone.
Heisler.
No.
Kinsella.
No.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
No.
Rudowitz.
No.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
No.
Silsby.
No.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
No.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
So what do we got there? Motion's defeated?
Yes.
Okay, 9-6. So we're back with the original motion, right, Tom?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Let's go back. If there's anyone want to try to attempt now to amend this to based on what we're hearing.
it seems to me that the proper amendment that I think carries a majority is if someone says just number 3 be adopted, so that's section 3 under 314F, and whether the amendment must say 5 or 10 miles on that, adopt just that requirement and refer the rest to the ordinance. I think that is what I understand the majority.
I'll make a motion to amend, to strike 1, 2, and 3, just 3 be adopted, and then be changed to 10 miles, and delete the portion that says that they can't reside in a different municipality.
Are you going to move 1 5 also?
Correct. So in other words, you're saying tonight, if we would just adopt this, that they have to live within 10 miles of the city of Belleville, and that would give me the opportunity to start to interview people.
Correct. I'll second it.
We have a motion by Alderman Hayden. This is an amendment. No, but this is an amendment you're making. There's a motion, but we have an amendment now. And Alderman Gleddy's seconding the amendment to drop all the other points in the original motion and to approve this based on the 10-mile requirement only, send the other requirements back to committee, but that would allow me then to start to expand my pool of consideration for nominations.
Yes.
Is that what everybody understands?
Yeah, we need to vote on the amendment first.
So
we get to debate
first we got to debate. Yes, ma'am.
I want clarification of 5 miles of the city limits.
So he just said 10.
I beg your pardon, you're correct. 10 miles of the city limits, any point of the city limits, not necessarily from St.
Yeah,
Paul.
Well, I think if we look at the contractual stuff, chiefs, it's from, when we say that in the, it's 10 miles from any point of state limits, right?
Correct.
In the contractual, right, that's the way we treated it.
They can change if they want, but
That's-
no one does, no one has.
That's the normal interpretation.
That's how I would do it.
There's two interpretations in our contracts, depending which one, it's either from the city limits, like you're saying, or they're out in case of fire from the fountain out.
Yeah, that actually says fountain, so I mean, it's about that language.
Where it would be from any point of the city limits, 10 miles out.
City limits is my intent.
Okay?
He
He struck that out.
Well, the motion carries that goes, that's disappeared, but the ordinance committee still has a chance to put that back in if it so chooses.
Okay? We have an amendment. Now, this will allow us to get started, and I would be comfortable
It
with.
gives you some direction.
I don't disagree with this, and then let's take our time on getting the other member on the ordinance committee, and then going. This would not prohibit us from starting to look at it, because based on what we have right now, this is still something.
I understand.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on Mr. Alderman Kinsella.
At this point of order, we still have a motion from Cyber Heisler to
Right.
approve the original.
Well, we're amending the original.
Amendment takes precedence.
Amendment takes precedence.
And then first of all, we have to accept the amendment, and then we have to accept the original motion.
Okay, so right now we're voting on the amendment, and that amendment is to eliminate all the other points and to add in the stipulation that they can live within 10 miles of the corporate city limit boundaries of the city of Belleville. Roll call.
Iceland.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider. Ayes have it, right? We pay full attention. Now we.
Now you have to vote on the original motion, which is the same thing. Now you agreed to amend the original motion, now you have to vote on the original motion.
Okay, so we have original motion now with this amendment in place. Alderman Seibert, and who was the second?
I guess we should probably, actually, you're supposed to read it. The new amendment, the new motion basically is section 314F, qualifications of city attorney will be amended to just have one subsection, unnumbered, which will read, the city attorney shall reside in Belleville or within 10 miles of the city limits of Belleville, and then have all further issues contained in this ordinance referred to. That's the motion.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion now we're voting on? Roll call.
Iceland. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orwood. Schneider.
Motion carries. This time we go to communications.
Communication from Kansas Avenue Neighborhood Watch requesting permission to hold their neighborhood block party on May 25th, 2013, and to close C and Kansas from 3 to 8 p.m. during their party. They are also requesting 4 picnic tables and 4 sets of barricades.
I hear a motion?
Motion approved. Second, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion? All in favor of approving that communication from Kansas Neighborhood Watch signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions, we have none. Resolutions. These resolutions all pertain to IDOT closures. If no one has an objection, can we read them all together?
Yes.
I'd ask for a motion to read, first of all, by title only, Resolution 3135, 3136, 3137, and 3138. Motion by Alderman Sillsby, second by Alderman Kinsella. Any discussion? To read by title only. All in favor of reading by title only, those stated in resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 3135, a resolution resolving that the city of Belleville requests permission from IDOT to close Route 159 at the Public Square from 5 p.m. Thursday, September 19th, 2013 until 12 a.m. Sunday, September 22nd, 2013 for the Oktoberfest. Resolution number 3136, a resolution resolving that the city of Belleville requests permission from IDOT to close Route 159 at the Public Square from 5 p.m. Thursday, October 3rd, 2013 until 12 a.m. Sunday, October 6th, 2013 for the chili cook-off. Resolution number 3137, a resolution resolving that the city of Belleville requests permission from IDOT to close Route 159 at the Public Square from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. November 11, 2013 for the Veterans Memorial Ceremony. And resolution number 3138, a resolution resolving that the city of Belleville requests permission from IDOT to close Route 159 at the Public Square from 9:30 a.m. until 12 noon on September 2nd, 2013 for the Labor Day Parade.
Do I hear a motion to approve those resolutions?
Resolution 3135, 3136, 3137, 3138, so moved.
Motion by Alderman Sillsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any discussion on those ones just read? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion's carried. This time we go to ordinances. I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Ordinances number 7683, 7684, 7685, and 7686. Motion by Alderman Sillsby. Do I hear a second? Alderman Seibert. Do I hear discussion about reading by title only? All in favor of reading the ordinances by title only signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
A zoning ordinance number 7683, a zoning ordinance in case 24, April 13th, Mildred Raymond, the Patriot.
Your motion to approve? Motion to approve, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Anthony, motion was by Alderman Sillsby. Discussion on the first ordinance, 7683. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next motion, next ordinance.
Ordinance number 7684, I'm sorry, a zoning ordinance in case 27, April 13th, Russell McCullough.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Alderman Rudowitz, I second. Second by Alderman Randall. Discussion, go ahead. You read it already?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7685, an ordinance vacating a sanitary sewer easement, 1021 West E Street.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Schneider, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7686, an ordinance amending chapter 3 of the revised code of ordinances of Belleville, Illinois, and those are city administration.
Make a motion, Your Honor, to approve ordinance 7686 as amended under section 11C of the meeting this evening.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman.
Second.
Second by Alderman Seibert. Motion was by Alderman Hayden. And a motion second was by Alderman Seibert. Now that was understood, that this is based on the amendments that you just voted on just a few moments ago as stated, okay? The third time. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any unfinished business? Yes, ma'am.
There were two additional ordinances in the packet.
And with the confusion changing of city attorneys, they did not get on the agenda, so that's an error, and we're going to have.
So it'll be for next week.
Yeah, it'll be at the next meeting. It was just a mistake with transferring some things around. And part of it is really to Dallas's, rescue. He didn't know, and Linda might have caught that, but we just didn't have it. It was just one of those things. They told me about it today, but the agenda was out. It was published, so we just had to wait. You didn't know about it. Can't blame you. We have miscellaneous and new business. We have motor fuel claims in the amount of $2,087.17. Motion by Alderman Simon, second by Alderman Heisler. Any discussion on the claims? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into executive session for a brief moment. I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session. This is primarily because of litigation. I don't think there's any.
Make a motion, Your Honor, to allow the city attorney to agree to settle litigation for up to $1,500, including litigation that's coming Thursday after the city attorney and city attorney discuss the issue and further detail and come to the conclusion that it's in our best interest.
I'll second it.
Motion by Alderman Hayden. Who had their hand? Alderman, I will recognize you, but let's just raise our hands. It's just like it's coming out of all over the place. We have a motion by Alderman Hayden. I'll recognize Alderman Schneider second. Discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like a roll call vote.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman.
Second.
Second by Heisler, motion by Hayden. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.